my name is Brooke Meyer, and I work at the Cincinnati Library downtown. I'm the adult programs coordinator, and I am an adult literacy instructor, ESL teacher, and public librarian.
Okay, cool. And where are you from, Brooke?
So, yeah, I'm from here. I was born in Covington, Kentucky, and I grew up in Fort Thomas, mostly.
What is your educational background? Where'd you go to school? Both maybe high school, college, and so on.
I went to Highlands. I went to Beechwood up until 3rd grade, and then we shifted. That's when we moved from Fort Mitchell to Fort Thomas, and then I graduated from Highlands High School, and then I started going to NKU as a senior because I wanted to knock out those general studies because I wanted to go to Chicago for my degree, and it was cheaper to do classes at NKU. But things changed, and I actually took a year off school when I was 19 and worked full-time at the YWCA Women's Shelter, and I was a residential aide there for about a year full-time before I went back to school. And then I thought I wanted to be like a social worker, but I realized with that experience, it wouldn't be easy for me, I don't think. I think it would have been really hard for me. That work's really intense, it's important, and I really have a lot of respect for social workers and case managers. But so anyway, I graduated with my sociology degree from NKU, and then I started working in libraries. Should I talk a little bit about my career?
Absolutely,
And then,
yeah.
okay, so I actually worked at this library in like 2001 to 2003 maybe in the circulation services department when they still had the subject departments. And so it's crazy because I recognize some people from back then, like 20 plus years ago, that are still here. And I really liked working here, and everyone was really great. I really love the people that are attracted to libraries that end up working here. Very interesting, kind people. And then I shifted, so I was in circulation services, and then I became a shelver in the fiction department, and then I got a full-time job at Lanksome Library at the University of Cincinnati. And if you work full-time as a staff person, you get free tuition, but they didn't have a library science degree, and I think I probably would have gone for that, but it actually worked out very well because that's how I got my master's in education with a focus in adult literacy and TESOL. And so I graduated from that program in 2008. And then I went, my first job, I went abroad in 2008. So I had never actually been out of the country except Canada before then. So sight unseen, I went to my first job in the Czech Republic in Brno, which is a city that's about the size of Cincinnati, and it's actually closer to Vienna than Prague. But yeah, I worked at an adult language school there for 2 years. And then should I keep going like all through?
Yeah.
Okay, up till now?
Sure.
Okay. So then in 2000, so I was in the Czech Republic for 2 years, and it was a really steep learning curve because I had never actually been in the classroom. So I was learning all this methodology, but I didn't have the practical experience really. I was a TA for a short time, so I had 1 or 2 classes at UC, but it was really trial by fire in that sense. And the Czech students are very demanding, they have a very great education system, very difficult and very rigorous. So it was a really good learning experience. I had to really learn how to teach grammar and all that. And then after that, so I worked with a bunch of people from the Czech Republic and the UK. And so I feel like I developed a lot as a teacher in that first job. And it was really great living there. I had some friends from Cincinnati actually that I had known that moved to Istanbul to teach at universities there. So in 2010, I left the Czech Republic, and I wasn't able to go home during that time. So I left directly from the Czech Republic to Istanbul, and I started working at a university there in an English prep program at Bilgi University. And I was there for 3 years. And I really loved living there in Istanbul, and I think that's my favorite place I've ever lived. It's about double the size of New York, and it's ancient. It's like one of the oldest cities in the world, and just like you're surrounded by sea. It's like very Mediterranean living style. It was really beautiful, and I really enjoyed that. And then I needed to pay off my loans from school. So, and the Turkish lira was low against the dollar. So that's what led me to Qatar and Doha University. They pay teachers very well in the Middle East. And so I worked there for 4 years. And I liked living there because the pay was good and I was able to pay down my loans, but also it's a very international city. So I worked with people from all over the world, and I had friends from so many different countries, and it was a really great experience. So I was gone about almost a decade, 9 years exactly. So I didn't get to go home for Christmas for like 9 years because of the way the school year was, and so that was tricky. But yeah, that's kind of like my background as an ESL teacher, but I was applying for jobs to move back home because, you know, my parents were aging. I wanted to kind of settle back down. Very hard to find jobs at universities teaching ESL. They want a terminal degree, a PhD. Did not have that. I just had my master's. And so I was like, you know what? I always liked working in libraries. So then I decided to get my my library degree, my master's of library science from Kent State. So I started that in Qatar, and then I finished it once I moved back. And I moved back in 2017.
And when you moved back, where did you move to and why?
My dear friend Annie, checked out an apartment for me and like nailed it down in Clifton for me. So I had a place to move back to, like an apartment set up. And actually, I moved back. I flew into Boston from Qatar because I had a summer job at a private school up there running a summer camp for ESL, for international students. You know, the first few years I was home, I was really hustling. I had like 5 W-2s each tax season. Like I was adjuncting at Cincinnati State, at UC. I was doing IELTS testing, which is kind of like the TOEFL, like the standardized English testing. I had a license to do that. I had the summer job in Massachusetts. So I felt like it took me a while after I graduated with my library degree to find full-time work. And that's when I finally landed a full-time job in the information reference department at the downtown library in September 2019.
Do you know how the ESL classes started here at the library? Do you have a knowledge like before you got here and also when this kind of program restarted?
Yeah, I think when I started here, there were classes at Clifton Library in person. I think those started in 2012, or maybe a little bit before, but I know Liz took them over in 2012. There was an online class, I think, at Sharonville, an in-person class at Hyde Park, and then Nicole Powers had a popular in-person class in the Adult Learning Center. I think that started in 2015. And then they shifted online during COVID. So, and I was hired, I think, with an idea that I'd be more of like an outreach librarian. So I was able to start in the information reference department a class in Springdale at the Willows complex for the residents there, an ESL class. So, yeah. You know, getting my degree in library science, I was very interested in how libraries can support immigrants and new Americans and how we can expand our services and improve our language access initiatives. And when I was in school, I didn't see a lot of articles written, like peer-reviewed articles written about the United States. A lot of what I read about was happening, like the role of public libraries in this space took place in Sweden and Norway when they helped the Syrian refugees escaping the war, and you know how they expanded their services. There was some stuff about like bookmobiles in California for the migrant workers, but there really wasn't a lot out there. I don't know, maybe there is now, because I do feel like more and more libraries are stepping into this work. And, Cincinnati, we have, I think it's 10% plus foreign-born population. And in places like Mason and Springdale and Clifton, it's like 20% plus. So these are, residents, tax-paying residents that deserve services. So I'm really, really happy that the library is supporting this work. And luckily we have some grants that help support the curriculum and the materials. And yeah, but sorry, to get back to the question of what was there, I think there were 2 in-person classes and 1 virtual class when I started.
Cool, thank you. That context is really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
From the time that you got the job here in 2019, I know that your role kind of shifted a little. Can you talk about from 2019 to present and how like your role here has changed and how like the nature of your work has changed?
Sure. So yeah, I was an information reference librarian. I really enjoyed that. I loved doing the e-ref and answering the phones and all the great questions you would get and working with the collections. I really did enjoy that. And then with COVID, the furlough, so I went and worked at Hyde Park as an LCA, a library customer advisor, for about a year. And then I shifted to a lifelong learning department as the specialist. So I helped organize like the programming paperwork and centralized schedule programming and making sure the branches have access to high quality presenters and stuff like that. A project I really enjoyed in my time in lifelong learning was helping with the Heritage Months and helping coordinate programming for Hispanic Heritage Month and Arabic Heritage Month. One of my favorite programs I helped coordinate was called Shades of the Arab World, and I leaned on my colleagues from Qatar, Noor Sharif, who's from Tunisia. He put together this great panel of his friends and colleagues of artists, activists, academics, and it was a really great program. And the feedback from that was really great. But yeah, and then after lifelong learning, I got into the Adult Learning Center. I was hired as a life skills coordinator. Now my position is adult programs coordinator. So we used to do one-on-one appointments. Well, we still do one-on-one appointments, but we used to have like a public desk. We've shifted to be more internally facing, but we still do one-on-one appointments. I still coordinate life skills programming like financial literacy, digital literacy. I teach other classes. I've taught classes on like local parks, digital literacy, and some other topics. But a lot of what I do more recently has been expanding our ESL programming. Now I am shifting more into workforce development programming, trying to expand that. But yeah, so that's been my goal since January 2024, has been expanding. And it's grown 450% since then. So we had 2 in-person classes. Now we have 9. We used to have 11 in-person classes, but St. Bernard and Reading have sunsetted for now. 1, the volunteer had to go, and then St. Bernard, they weren't getting the attendance. But Sims is going to come on, and Forest Park, I think. So we're going to go back up to 11.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And do you want me to talk about how that works? Like the training process, or?
Yeah, let's go there. If you want to talk about too, my next question is like ESL classes and resources and services. But we also might cover that at the end too.
Okay.
But yeah, why don't you talk about training process?
Okay, so it was tricky because like as a professional teacher, it's like, am I watering down the It was a very fine line for me, or like I had to kind of wrestle with this idea in my mind, like, okay, what is too much information? What is enough information? You want to be an effective teacher, but on the other hand, it's getting people into the library because a lot of people don't have public libraries in the sense that we have here. There's so many barriers, so people will come for the ESL, but then they can be connected with so many services, as we know. And we're lucky because libraries always reflect the communities they are in, and we saw such the need explode for this work. So, so basically, our classes are taught by library staff or library volunteers, and I meet with them and talk about who's in their community, what languages you're seeing, and then some best practices, some common scenarios. I have a volunteer manual I created, and we go through that, and then I co-teach and co-lead the first 4 sessions. So I basically lead the first few, and then I take a further and further step back and then offer notes, usually for the facilitator. And we had our first in-person workshop, like training, just a few weeks ago. And we did some exercises on how to make materials easier, harder, more communicative. So very practical things like that we try to go over. And then I had my old colleague, Daniel, who went through the same program I did at UC. He's the ESL chair at Cincinnati State, and he did a presentation on teaching speaking using improv techniques, which was really fun because it kind of puts you in the mindset of trying to be on your feet and speak English, which can be nerve-wracking when you're trying to access that, but the language like that.
What are your philosophies and practices as an educator?
As an educator, so I think it's really important to meet the student where they are, adapt. You want your material to be authentic, content-based, communicative. I'm always trying to tell people, watch your teacher talk time. It's for the students. There's a way to even get the maybe lower level students to participate. I try to teach some best practices for the classroom on how to keep the classes communicative and there's different theories in ESL, like task-based, or you can do project-based, and it's good if you can have a mixture of you don't want your classes to be just one thing, for sure. So I pull from many different resources for my classes, for sure. Yeah. And never say to a student we don't say that, or that's, or write awkward next to a phrase in a page. I'll be but people, if you can't explain the grammar or why it's wrong, and grammar is very intimidating to a lot of people, it's okay to say, I can't tell you why that's wrong, but I'm going to look it up and I'll let you know next week. And I try to tell that to the staff that are teaching. Some people are more, they're brave to get into the grammar, and some people just don't want to touch it. But, a lot of the classes that we have in person are conversation classes, so maybe they don't get into the grammar as much, and that's okay. But for our beginner classes, those teachers kind of have to get into it. And I've been really impressed with how hard they're working and how much they care to make the class fantastic. And yeah, it's been really impressive.
Cool. Do you have any interesting stories or lessons that you've learned through teaching?
Yeah, well, I would say that I've learned a lot, and it's an honor to teach. I've learned so much from my students. I loved living abroad and inserting myself in a totally kind of foreign environment to me, and I really enjoy that experience. So it's been really nice to kind of bring different people into the library and teach them. I'm very happy that I have a practical skill that I can use to help people. I can teach someone English, and that's a very practical skill that's impactful. And I'm really glad that I can use that skill in this work too. But yeah, so I learn a lot from my students, and teaching them really is a gift for me.
Did you want to expound there on like the immigrant experience like we were just talking about, or you want to skip that?
Yeah, like I think people need to realize just how difficult it is. Like just imagine leaving your family, leaving possibly a very dangerous situation, not knowing the language, and just trying to build a life. And I've had Uber drivers that are doctors in Kenya or nurses in their country, and they can't, the licensing is tricky, and the career pathways is very, very hard for people. So it's not like people are just wanting to move here to steal jobs. People are moving here because they have to, or they want more opportunity, or their farms are in drought because of climate change and resources are getting fewer. Their government is corrupt and they're being persecuted. There's many, many different reasons, and I feel like it's easy to say like come here legally or what have you, but the immigration system's broken. It hasn't changed meaningfully since like 1990, and it's really, really hard to get your citizenship. It's not easy, and people pay taxes. People pay into Social Security, and these are benefits that most people never receive. I just feel like there'd be more understanding and empathy if people would actually talk to an immigrant, or just try to open up their minds and like learn a little bit about the immigrant experience, because some of the stories, like I worked at the Writing Center at Cincinnati State, and some of these narratives I would read were just like heartbreaking stories, but also very inspiring, and yeah, just people, the bravery that it takes to up and leave everything is very impressive and intense.
Do you have any major accomplishments or challenges from teaching that you can recall?
Well, now I'm forgetting like higher level grammar, like how to teach it, because I haven't taught it for a while. So that's just a little detail. Challenges, I would say, is it's hard sometimes to be going through maybe a book, if we're going through a book with a class, and then having new students come in all the time and making sure they fit with a class. So like the mixed levels, the attendance, that can be pretty tricky sometimes. And everybody struggles with that, I think, with community ESL. And the pre-literate, the science of reading is great. There's not any, I haven't been able to find any science of reading materials for adults as much. And then especially with like pre-literate ESL, like I looked up like the long A sound is like bale of hay, and like we don't ever say bale of hay in our common like conversation. It's a very low frequency word. So finding like pre-literate materials for ESL students has been pretty hard. And my students, like getting people to realize like contractions, how we smash words together and how we don't enunciate, like that's really hard for students, and it's hard to get them to prepare them to talk English in the wild. People speak so quickly, and I tell them, I'm like, look, do not be embarrassed about asking someone to slow down or to repeat. You already have extra resources than most of us do. You already speak a language. You're learning a second language, in some cases a third, fourth language. Do not feel embarrassed. You need to be proud, and people will not care. And this is what most people wouldn't care, and I would hope people wouldn't care for understanding to repeat what they said for people, because so many of us only speak one language, and so how dare we make fun of somebody or make someone feel small because of their accent or their attempts at speaking.
What are your goals as a teacher or an educator?
I guess my biggest goal in this sense right now is my role in the library is to create a sense of like welcoming and to get people connected to the library. That's my biggest goal because so many people weren't coming, you know, for many different reasons. They don't have public libraries like this in their countries, or they don't realize things are free, or this huge building looks like intimidating or what have you. But so I wanted to get people in and I wanted to be more welcoming. So that was my biggest goal.
It's a good one. Do you have additional goals for like the classes or the programs, like how many you want to have or how many students? Do you have any like qualitative or quantitative goals for the classes?
Yeah, I mean, I've been super impressed with attendance. People are coming, it's consistent, even when things are tricky right now. We've established the library as a safe space, and people are still coming. And I was at Catholic Charities yesterday at an off-site visit, and it just felt so good to share everything that we had and like the delight in people's faces and giving them their card. And I mean, they were so excited, and it's just like, please use your library. We're here for you. I recently got the stats from our New Americans webpage is like almost 4,000 interactions in 90 days. So people are like using the materials and looking at the calendar. And we also maintain, and I think this is fantastic and really useful, a list of all the adult ESL classes in Cincinnati. So we have then like the contact information, the region, the cost, most of them are free, the levels, and yeah, the neighborhoods. When we first started maintaining this list, there was only like 30. Now there's like 43. So it's great. So like, you know, COVID really wiped out a lot of these programs. So it felt really good that we could kind of like step up and build out this programming for the great need we were seeing. I think we're probably good here at 11 or 12 branches. I think that's probably a good amount. I think Sims, we get questions all the time about ESL, like, when are you going to have ESL at Sims? So I think that makes total sense. But yeah, I think I've been very happy with the consistent attendance and the value and the impact that these programs have. I mean, they literally change people's lives. And the team, there's like 60 staff members on the ESOL Teams channel, which is way more than the people involved in teaching the classes at the branches. But, you know, people want to help and they're interested in this work. And it's a really great, compassionate, intelligent, caring group of individuals. And we really enjoy supporting each other and sharing, you know, news about, you know, what's happening in this space.
Nice. The last question as part of this part of the interview is, do you have any advice for new students? Or if people coming to the library who haven't met us yet, like, what would you tell them?
Just come, right? Just come. Everyone's welcome. We have so much, and you know, it's hard for adults. Teaching languages to children is easier in a sense because kids, they're free in a sense, but they're not afraid to make mistakes. When you're learning a language as an adult, you sound like a child, and it's very uncomfortable for people. So I think that's something that some people have to get over. So just come. I mean, it's a safe space. We're all here to learn. It's funny, in the volunteer manual, I had like scenarios that I had thought about and had experienced in classes with like 18, 19, 20-year-olds at the university. Like, what do you do if a student laughs at another student's attempt to speak English and they're making a lot of mistakes? That has never happened, thank God, of course, in a community ESL class. Like, no one is laughing, no one is, I mean, it's just a very kind, supportive environment. And for me, this is like the best of the best because I don't have to teach like for an exam, I don't have to grade paper. It's just like, what can I do to make your life easier and help you communicate better in your new home, whether you're here for a few months on a work assignment or maybe with your partner, or if you are here living and you need to talk to your doctor or you need to talk to your child's teacher. Like, these are very important practical tasks that people have to do. And that's why I was so impressed with the students in this project. It's easy to communicate like concrete things like giving directions or ordering at a restaurant. It's so much harder to talk about your emotions or your past or your feelings or your thoughts, like more abstract things that, some of these people have never taken English before in a formalized setting, and they spoke for 30, 40 minutes about their life. And it was super, super impressive. And I was so impressed with them.